They were not born with it. They weren't handed a crown or blessed by chance. They were not the fastest, smartest, strongest, or most talented. But they built empires. They left legacies. They carved their names into the bedrock of history with luck. Not with excuses, but with habits. You want to know the difference between a man who rises and one who stays in the shadows. It's not genetics. It's not connections. It's not fate. It's what they do, every single day. Before the world wakes up. Before anyone is watching. Before they see results. Before they feel like it. Millionaires are not made in the moment of glory, they are forged in the darkness of routine. Thomas Edison didn't light up the world because he had a bright idea. He succeeded because when his 1,000th attempt failed, he didn't flinch. He went back to work. Habit. Henry Ford revolutionized transportation, not because he had capital, but because he had an obsession with simplifying the complex, and every single morning, he thought about how to do it better. Habit. Oprah Winfrey, Walt Disney, Andrew Carnegie, Elon Musk. Different eras, different tools, but one thing in common: the pattern of discipline, the repetition of vision, the habit of getting up when others stay down. The world is not short on dreamers. It's starving for doers. And that's where this journey begins, not in the grand, but in the grind. Clarity is the first weapon. You can't hit a target you don't see. Millionaires don't drift. They define. They don't ask, "What do I want today?" They decide who they must become to fulfill the life they were born to live. Because you don't get the life you wish for. You get the life you're willing to build. Brick by brick, action by action. So, let me ask you something. What are you building with your hours? With your focus? With your silence? Your mind is a garden. Every thought is a seed. The weeds are doubt, fear, and distraction. They grow fast and choke the future. But discipline is the hand that clears them. Belief is the water, and purpose is the sun. The millionaires of this world don't pray for harvest. They plant. They water. They weed. Every single day. Let's talk about mindset, because your habits are the children of your beliefs. What you believe about yourself when no one is around. That's the blueprint. That's the ceiling. That's the difference. Andrew Carnegie didn't build steel with steel. He built it with steel nerves, with a mind trained to look beyond the moment. He wasn't born wealthy. He cleaned bobbins in a cotton factory. But he developed the mental muscle of faith. Not religious faith, faith in himself. Faith in cause and effect. Faith that effort, repeated with precision, would eventually break the wall. That's not luck. That's mental conditioning. And that's the next habit. Guard your inner world like a fortress. Most people feed on social media more than they feed their minds. They fill their heads with fear, noise, and scarcity, then wonder why they feel stuck. Millionaires don't think in limits. They think in levers. They ask, "What am I not seeing yet?" They seek new angles, better inputs, deeper truth. They protect their minds from negativity like a general protects a kingdom. Because they know if your thinking is average, your actions will be average. And average is a disease. Comfort is a coffin. Now comes the painful truth. Nothing changes without discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect in motion. It's saying, "I'm worth more than my excuses." Every millionaire you admire had to stare down their own weakness and say, "Not today." When they wanted to quit, they didn't. When the results didn't come, they still showed up. When no one clapped, they built in silence. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. Did he fall apart? No, he focused. He sharpened. He returned stronger. Why? Because the habit of resilience was wired into him. That's what separates contenders from pretenders. You want wealth? Then stop chasing dopamine and start chasing discipline. Build rituals. Wake up earlier. Own your morning. Train your body, because a strong mind lives in a strong vessel. Write your goals every day, not once a year. Study success, not casually, obsessively. Audit your circle. Speak like someone who expects greatness. Act like someone who earns it. Let's be clear. There is no secret to success. There is only the habit of showing up when it's hard, of executing when you're tired, of trusting the process when the progress feels invisible, because that's where winners are made. In the invisible, in the boring, in the thankless. Habits built in silence become empires revealed in light. And while the world celebrates the spotlight, the millionaire is mastering the shadows. You have to stop negotiating with yourself. That's what separates the few who rise from the masses who stay asleep. They don't ask if they feel like it. They act. They follow through. They treat their word like law. Because the habit of self-command is a cornerstone. And if you can't lead yourself, you'll never lead a life worth living. Look at Abraham Lincoln, riddled with failure, crushed by heartbreak, mocked, doubted, underestimated. But he moved forward. Even in his darkest hours, Lincoln held to an internal law: progress is sacred. He didn't need motivation. He had purpose. And when purpose becomes habit, nothing can stop you. Let me repeat that. When purpose becomes habit, nothing can stop you. Too many people wait for motivation, for inspiration, for the right time. But the truth is there's never a right time. There is only the decision to act anyway. If you build the habit of taking action through fear, action through fatigue, action through failure, you become unstoppable. Not because you're fearless, but because you're faithful. Faithful to the vision that calls you. Now listen closely. Vision is not a dream. It's not a fantasy you entertain when life feels dull. Vision is a command from your future self to stop living small. It's a lighthouse, and every habit is the boat steering you toward it. But most people never reach it. Not because they lack the potential, but because they refuse to practice focus. Focus is a dying art. We are drowning in distraction, scrolling, clicking, comparing, consuming. Millionaires, the ones who truly build something lasting, develop a violent intolerance for distraction. They guard their attention like gold. Because they know, where your focus goes, your life follows. You want to build wealth? Start by building walls around your time. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everything deserves your attention. Millionaires are ruthless with their schedule and generous with their vision. They wake up early not because they like mornings, but because they like momentum. They plan their day before the world invades it. They eliminate decision fatigue: what to wear, what to eat, when to work, all automated. Because decision is power, and every wasted choice is a leak in your empire. Then comes learning, and not just consuming information, but integrating it. Millionaires have the habit of growth baked into their daily rhythm. They don't binge content. They mine it. They don't read to pass time. They read to arm themselves. Warren Buffett reads 6 hours a day. Not for fun. For fuel. They ask themselves, what don't I know? What can I unlearn? Where am I still blind? Growth is not a one-time leap. It is a lifelong climb. And the moment you stop learning, you start losing. Millionaires journal. They reflect. They review their days, their results, their mindset. Because feedback is the compass of the elite. Another pillar, gratitude as a practice, not a feeling. This might surprise you. But listen, gratitude is not weakness. It is one of the most powerful success habits there is. Why? Because when you condition your mind to find value in what you have, you build the eyes to recognize opportunity. And opportunity is everywhere, but most people are too busy complaining to see it. Gratitude unlocks abundance. It grounds you. It sharpens your awareness. It stops you from being the victim. Even in hardship, millionaires are grateful. Not for the pain, but for the chance to rise through it. Carnegie once said, "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit." That's not a quote, it's a lens. And once you see life through that lens, you start responding like a leader. You stop whining. You stop waiting. You start becoming. But none of this matters without adaptability. Change is coming whether you're ready or not. The market shifts. Technology evolves. The world breaks your plans. And if you haven't built the habit of pivoting under pressure, you'll break with it. Millionaires are fluid. They don't cling to ego. They don't marry their methods. They marry the mission and allow the form to change. Kodak failed not because the product stopped working, but because the people at the top stopped evolving. The habit of evolution is non-negotiable. Adapt or disappear. And to adapt, you must detach from fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of starting over. Millionaires reframe failure not as the end, but as information. Thomas Edison once said, "I have not failed. I've just found 0 ways that won't work." That's not resilience, that's strategic thinking. And then perhaps most critically, there's environment. Because no matter how strong your habits, if you're planting seeds in toxic soil, they will not grow. Millionaires have the habit of surrounding themselves with momentum. Not envy, not pity. Momentum. They curate their circle like a king curates his council. They seek truth tellers, not comfort givers. Mentors, not distractions. Builders, not talkers. You want to change your life? Audit your surroundings? Who are you listening to? What energy fills your space? What voices live rent-free in your mind? If they don't challenge you, they're costing you. And finally, all of this comes down to one truth. Action is the bridge between desire and destiny. You can have the vision. You can have the habits. But unless you move, unless you act, nothing changes. Millionaires are not idea collectors. They're decision makers. They don't delay. They deploy. They wake up with clarity. They act with intention. They rest with integrity, knowing they honored the grind. They are not superheroes. They are not gifted. They are consistent. That's the real secret. Now we enter the fire. The part most people run from. The part the world doesn't glamorize. The part where legends are born and pretenders are burned out. Resilience. If habits are the foundation of wealth, then resilience is the steel frame that keeps it standing. You're going to be tested. That's not a maybe, it's a guarantee. Life will punch you in the mouth. It will rip apart your plans, humiliate your confidence, and challenge your belief. But here's what millionaires understand. The obstacle is not in the way, the obstacle is the way. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job for lacking imagination. He was bankrupt before he was famous, rejected by dozens of investors. But he didn't fold. He fortified. He had the habit of persistence hardwired into his soul. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about getting up faster than you fall. It's about becoming so committed to your vision that no setback, no betrayal, no market crash, no personal loss can take it from you. Because the truth is, most people don't fail from defeat. They fail from discouragement. But when your habits are rooted in purpose, when your belief is reinforced daily, you don't break, you bounce. You learn. You adapt. You return stronger. And through that fire, something sacred emerges. Identity. This isn't talked about enough. But it's everything. Because you will never outperform the story you believe about who you are. Most people are trying to achieve with the mindset of the version of themselves that's still stuck in survival, still tied to their past, still apologizing for wanting more. Millionaires rewrite their inner narrative. They shed the skin of may be someday and step into I am. Not I will be successful. I am successful in process. Not I hope I become disciplined. I am a disciplined person. Not I'm trying. I've already decided. That shift from trying to embodying to what snaps the rope holding you back. You must act as the future version of yourself before the world validates it. That's what leadership looks like. That's what internal power feels like. Because you can copy someone's tactics. You can borrow their morning routine. But if you don't change the root identity, you'll always snap back to the old self. And that's why millionaire habits don't start outside. They start within. Let's make this real. You want to build the habits that create wealth. Then this is what your life begins to look like. You wake up earlier than comfort tells you to. You claim the first hour for silence, clarity, movement, and intention. No phone, no noise, just vision. You write down your goals every day. Not just the what, but the who. Who do you need to become to live that life? You read, not as a chore, but as a mental upgrade. You feed your mind wisdom, strategy, truth. You hunt ideas like your life depends on it because it does. You move your body, because a weak body is a weak command center. You train to become a machine of focus, energy, and intensity. You say no to distractions, to mediocre company, to quick fixes. You say yes to systems, structure, and stretching your limits. You work when others wait. You act when others doubt. You stay locked in when the world wants to pull you out. You track your results. You journal your growth. You reflect with honesty and adjust with no ego. And when it all breaks, when things collapse, when it seems like nothing's working, you breathe. You recalibrate. You rise again. Because it's not just what you do, it's who you become through doing it. Now hear this. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need permission. You don't need certainty. You just need to begin. And keep beginning every single day. You think millionaires never doubted themselves. They did. But they acted anyway. They showed up anyway. They honored their habits, even in the silence, even in the struggle, even when the results were invisible. That is faith in action. That is belief made real. And over time, the compound effect kicks in. The late nights, the early mornings, the learning, the solitude, the sacrifices. They converge and the world calls it overnight success. But you know the truth. It was built by habit, by force of will, by refusing to bow to average. So now the question ain't whether you're capable. It's whether you're committed. Not for a week, not until it's hard, but until it's done. The question is, will you align your habits with the future you say you want? Will you train your mind to serve your mission, not your moods? Will you be one of the few who masters the boring, invisible disciplines that make the impossible inevitable? Because make no mistake, that's how millionaires are made. Not in one big moment, not from one breakthrough, but from thousands of tiny choices made behind closed doors. From a war inside the soul where discipline defeats desire, where purpose overrules procrastination, where belief drowns out fear. This is your call, not just to build wealth, but to become worthy of it. Not just to chase success, but to embody it. Build the habits, and the habits will build the life. Because in the end, it's never really about money. The money is a mirror. It reflects your standards. It echoes your habits. It amplifies who you've become or exposes who you've refused to be. Wealth is not the goal. Wealth is the result of inner mastery. And mastery does not scream. It whispers. It humbles. It sharpens you in private before it rewards you in public. The man who builds real success is not the one obsessed with outcomes. It's the one obsessed with becoming the kind of person who earns them. He doesn't chase. He attracts. Not through tricks. Not through luck. But through the energy of alignment. His thoughts match his speech. His speech matches his action. His action matches his vision. He has become a living declaration of intention. That's what real wealth looks like. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It's quiet confidence forged in consistent discipline. And that is the final habit. The habit of becoming, of rising when you've failed, of choosing integrity when no one is watching, of building the structure that your future self can stand tall upon. Because that version of you, the one you dream of becoming, they're not waiting in the distance. They're already inside you. And every habit you build is a key, unlocking their power, revealing their presence, shaping their reality. You're not here to live on repeat. You're not here to coast. You're not here to make peace with mediocrity and call it success. You are here to lead yourself, to burn the old scripts, to sever the excuses, to act like your future depends on it because it does. You are the builder. You are the architect. You are the force. And the world, it's waiting for your proof. So now, the final question: will you rise, or will you repeat? Because every sunrise offers two paths: the path of momentum, or the path of mediocrity, the path of courage, or the path of comfort. You already know which one leads to fortune. Now it's time to walk it. Step by step, habit by habit, decision by decision, until one day you wake up and realize you are no longer becoming a millionaire. You already are one. In how you think, in how you move, in how you show up, in how you live. Because that's the truth no one wants to admit. The habits build the wealth, but it's the habits that build you. Now go. Build without apology. Build without delay. Build like your name belongs among giants. Because it does. And it starts today.